You are joining Making a Difference with Melissa Clark, a new show that shares the compelling stories and voices of well-known and everyday people who change the world in big and small ways. Enjoy our guests, call in, or just listen to be inspired. For this show was made with you in mind. Please join us every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our special guests. And you can listen to our recast at www.melissaclarkshow.com.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us here on Making a Difference. I'm Melissa Clark. I was thrilled to sit with actor, producer, writer, comedian, Mr. Jamie Lissow. You may best know him on Netflix, The Real Rob. He plays Rob Schneider's assistant, Jamie, and I just love that show so much. We discussed his amazing career and a very sensitive topic that he had amazing advice for. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you so much for tuning in. Jamie Lissow, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Nice to see you.
You too. Thank you so much. You grew up in Rochester. You're actually Rochester, New York. You're in Alaska right now.
I am.
How is it in Alaska, and how did you guys handle this pandemic?
You know, it's interesting. The reason I'm in Alaska was I actually followed a girl here. I got married to a girl that was from Fairbanks, Alaska. Mm-hmm. And then I moved here, and then we got divorced. So it's super convenient to live here now.
Oh, wow.
Around nobody. But it's a weird thing because it's slightly remote, obviously, because it's Alaska. People aren't that near each other. It's also kind of a Republican state, so it's almost like nothing's happening up there. Like you don't see very much. Like, it's funny. My sister's a nurse in New York, and I talked to her about all the stuff that's going on.
Oh my God.
But here it feels like nothing's different. I don't know. It feels like it doesn't even exist until I read the news.
Yeah. You don't want to come over here. How is your sister handling this? You said she's a nurse here?
She's a nurse in Rochester, New York.
Oh, and, Rochester.
She's not in, she's like deals with babies, but she sees around the hospital, like some of her friends and stuff, getting overwhelmed, and no one's happy about sort of the second wave that's happening, and just hoping things calm down at some point.
Wow. Okay.
This Alaska, though, it's a weird place. We have right now, I wish I could show you, we have 24 hours of daylight right now.
Oh, do you really?
So it never gets dark. And then in the winter, this is one of those places, it's Fairbanks. It's one of those places where you have 24 hours of darkness, which a lot of people don't like it, but I kind of like it because when there's like 1 hour of daylight, I feel super productive. You know, like I'm like, dude, I did stuff all day today.
Oh my God.
You know, from sun up to sundown.
So I guess you have like good shades in your room.
You do. You have to get like these special, your kids won't go to sleep, you know.
Oh my goodness.
They have like 5Ks and baseball games that start at midnight as the sun's out.
So you have children and you're divorced right now, is that correct?
Yeah. Okay.
We
got kids around the corner.
Because I saw a couple of interviews and you were with your wife at that time, and you said the whole story of how her father owned the comedy club.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I lost all that material in the divorce.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry. Are you happy?
I'm so much. We're still friends and stuff.
God bless.
And, we still talk and stuff. She actually just texted me and said, "Screw you." No, I'm just kidding. We're all friendly. No, it's all, everything happens for a, it's funny, and not to go off subject, but I was listening to this podcast that was so beautiful. And the guy was saying, it's the Jim Fortin podcast. I don't know if you've heard that before.
Yes.
I love that guy. And he was saying, whenever something happens in your life, you have to get to a point, and I'm not at that point, but I'm starting to get there, where good or bad news, like say, our show got canceled, our Man with a Plan, the show I wrote on.
Yes.
He said, you have to get to a point where if they go, hey, you got another season, you guys are writing again, you go, this is great. And if they go, hey, it's getting canceled and blah, blah, you have to go, this is great.
Right.
Like you have to get to a point where you truly believe that you're in the right place, even though it might be different than your expectations.
That's right. Well, I think you guys did the mature thing, and you know, you don't want to fight in front of the kids and all that. So it's
Yeah.
just, it's better off that way. I grew up in a household that where, you know, I'm 40, so way back when everybody had to stay together. So we grew
Right.
up in fighting, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, it gives you anxiety as a child to hear things slam. And you know, I grew up in Brooklyn, so I'm like, you know, we're throwing
Right.
pots at each other.
Oh my God.
So yeah,
Right.
so you know, you're in a civilized area. We're in New York here, and
Yeah.
we throw things at each other when we're in.
Divorce is great, by the way. People don't talk about great divorces. Like
That's right.
you get to put together your own place. I went to the furniture store and I was basically like, hey, give me everything my wife would have hated. That's what I want. I got a picture of David Duchovny behind me. You can't have that when you're married.
I love it. I love it. Is that watercolor?
I think it's a watercolor. Yeah.
I love it. Oh my
Got
God.
it off the internet.
So when did you first discover comedy? When did you know that you wanted to pursue this?
I don't know. I think I'm older than you, but
Yeah.
but I remember the HBO Rodney Dangerfield comedy specials. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like as a kid. I mean, that was like the big breakout show that a lot of guys run. And I remember being like 6th and 7th grade and watching comedy. And then I remember being with my little friends and like, you know, kids would go like, oh, I want to be a ninja when I grow up. I want to be like a princess. And I was like, I want to be a comedian. And then as I get older, I realized mine was real. Like my crazy job that I wanted as a kid was like an actual job. And so I just sort of started pursuing it, and it's been 25 years or something.
25 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you were on stage?
Yeah, I did it was not great. I went on stage and it was a comedy contest.
Mhm.
And I think I came in like 5th place, and there were only like 3 people in the contest. Like the power, people laughing, like the feeling you get when a bunch of strangers laugh, I will never forget it. Like it was like a force. Like I was like, oh my God, almost like an addiction. Like I had to get back up and do it again.
Right, right. How do you remember you write all of your material, is that correct? When you're up on
I do, yeah. I
How
do have a little trouble remembering sometimes.
Do you?
But you sort of get into, you kind of talk about like what's going on in your life at the moment. So like if I were to, none of us have done stand-up in so long because of the COVID. But if I had to go up right now, it's pretty easy because you go like, oh, you know, stuff going on in your life, like divorce, moving to Alaska, and then you're just kind of doing it every night, you know, like sometimes we'll perform. When I'm in Vegas, I do 2 shows a night for 7 nights a week. So, you know, within a couple months, you pretty much have it memorized.
Did you ever panic when you were on stage?
I'm sure I have. I don't get that nervous. I mean, after like a little while, to me, like being on stage is more comfortable than talking to people in real life. Like it's very comfortable for me. Like that, like warm light and like the audience. I'm like extremely comfortable up there. But I would say I learned this from I think it was like Joe Rogan, like a UFC fighter. They were saying that the physical feelings you get when you're panicking are physiologically almost identical to the feelings you get when you're like pumped up or amped to do something.
Yeah, your adrenaline.
And so so just sort of like reclassify it and go, oh my God, like like I'm so nervous to get on stage to kind of go, I'm excited to get on stage. Like that's what this means. And that's helped me in times when I'm a bit of a panicky. I get a little anxious, a little panicky, and that's definitely helped me to sort of reframe it as, hey, we're just excited to be here, you know?
So is that the advice you would give to somebody, a new comedian going up on stage and they get nervous? You would just tell them just to revert their feeling back to like, yeah.
It certainly works for me. Like it really, it's one of those things where, you know, you listen to a podcast and you're like, all right, that sounds pretty good. But this was like a very actionable thing that immediately started changing my life once I heard it, you know, just to reframe it and go, this is your body trying to do you a favor. You know, like your body's always trying to do you a favor, all these feelings we have. Like if it's guilt for not seeing somebody, he's trying to make you go see that person, you know, like but if you can reframe the panic into being excited so it helps you instead of hurts you.
That's right.
Turn the bug into a feature.
That's right. I get nervous too when I interview people. I get excited, but you always think you don't want to mess up, but I think you
Right.
have to just go into a different dimension and just,
Yeah.
it's like you're talking to an old friend, so
Yeah.
I always use that for when I do my interviews with people. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's also easy, especially with the Zoom thing. It's so nice because you could always just pretend the internet went out, which you can't do in real life.
That's right. That's
You
correct.
can't be at a bar and go, I lost signal. You
Yeah.
have to.
Let's talk about your sobriety. Now that you're going through a divorce, you've been sober for 7 years. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to tell you about this. So I actually had like a bit of I don't like the word relapse,
Okay.
but sort of like it's funny, man. Like when I was drinking like a lot, like I definitely was drinking like every night, and it was something that I knew I needed to stop doing.
Yeah.
And I did it with the help of the book, The Easy Way to Quit Drinking by Alan Carr.
That's right.
And and I found it to be like surprisingly easy for the situation I was in. I would have thought it would have been harder because it had been so long and so many years of that habit.
Mm-hmm.
But then after getting divorced, and it wasn't like I'm depressed, I'm going to drink. It was more like I want to go to dinner with a girl and it'd be nice to have a glass of wine. And then
Correct. Yeah.
your mind kind of tricks you into thinking, hey, maybe it's been so long you forget all the horrible things that happened, and you sort of go like, oh, I can do this now, like maybe I'm a normal person. And so I tried that, and it was actually very normal for a while, like probably like a couple months. I was like, oh, and then it just almost immediately went back to exactly what it was before, where
really?
it wasn't fun anymore, and it was just seemed like an addiction, and it was hard to quit. And then want to hear this is my favorite story, not favorite story, but it just like freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
So Alan Carr, like a lot of people have heard about that book where he quit drinking. And so I started thinking, well, he helped me the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll look those guys up, go to a seminar or talk to somebody over at Alan Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to alancarr.com.
Yeah.
And the front page comes up and it says like, oh, you want to quit drinking, you want to quit smoking, whatever. Turn off, my phone keeps pairing to
thank you because I'm
thing.
Losing you and you're mouthing and I can't hear what you're saying.
Are we good? Okay, that'll never happen again.
Thank you very much. Thank
you. So this is so weird to me. So I go on Alan Carr's website, and I'm like, these guys helped me the first time, maybe they can help me this time. Front page comes up, quit drinking, quit smoking, and it's all these different options of things to do. And then testimonials start coming up, right? Like it says, Richard Branson pops up, and it says, I quit smoking, whatever. And then Ashton Kutcher, I quit this, whatever. And you know who the next person that comes up is? Jamie Lissow.
Are you serious?
It's my own name.
Yeah.
Telling me how easy it is to quit drinking. Like it freaked me out because Alan Carr had used a quote from me that I had said in a podcast about like how, I quit, it was very easy, whatever. And I was staring at this thing. It was like a picture of me on stage, and it said, Jamie Lissow says it's very easy to, and I was just reading and I was like, oh my God, like the me of the past is giving me advice on how to quit drinking. And I called them up and I ended up doing a several hour online thing. And it sort of reminded me of all the things that I learned from the book. And I closed the laptop and I didn't really feel that different. I didn't know if it had like worked or whatever. And that was 9 months ago.
So 9 months you haven't had a drink.
Yeah. So now I'm back solidly being sober again.
So my question to you is like, so you can't have just one glass of wine because me, right? I can't have one glass of wine. It's got to turn into 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I feel so terrible the next day because the first step is to know that you have a problem, but it's not like I'm sitting there drinking, getting drunk. It's not like I'm sitting there, I'm doing my writing and this and that, but I have to come to some sort of conclusion that is not going to help me because right now, especially with this COVID going on, ever since it started, my things are coffee, wine, and I have to take a bath just to relax because it's the anxiety. And we were in ground zero here. Let's just be honest. So for people who are listening, and I don't take any pills, I don't smoke, I don't do anything else but enjoy my wine.
Yeah.
But I know in my heart of hearts that I have to calm down on that. So, I
You know,
appreciate.
something you said I think is really important too, because
Thank you.
I don't even use like the alcoholic word, or to me it was like I've had like a glass of wine or two before and that's it for the night. But I can only do that a few times, and then it sort of goes back into like the bottle of wine. But
Correct.
I started really realizing I don't want to have a glass of wine. I want to have several glasses of wine. It just doesn't interest me. It's like having one chocolate chip cookie. Just keep them. I don't want them anymore. Like, it's either all of them or nothing with me. And
That's right.
what you said like really hit home with me, which is at some point you just go, hey, you don't need to call yourself anything. You don't need to admit anything, but you ask yourself, is it helping you?
Yeah.
And if you didn't do it if you stopped eating bananas for a month, your life probably wouldn't get better. But what if you stopped drinking wine for a month, and really like reflect and journal and like see how your life changed? And for people that a lot of my friends that don't drink say this, like, you never call your friend and go, man, I feel like I have a problem eating lasagna. Like, you never talk about that, but we would always find ourselves going, man, I think I drank a little too much, or
Yes.
there's so much time is being spent thinking about it and worrying about it. It's probably something that, what would happen if you just didn't drink for 30 days? If you like your life better? All right.
I know. It's just the point of getting to that point of no return. That's the whole thing. Like, I just enjoy having I love the taste of red wine. I love it with my dinner.
Yeah.
It complements everything. I have my music, my spa music in the background, or classical music. I just enjoy it. And to me, it's just like cozy, but
it's fun.
It is fun, but it's all in moderation. If you can have one glass of wine or two glasses of wine, we're good. But you and I think our personalities, it's all or nothing. And that's where you come into problems.
Yeah. In which I feel like do you find that I find it so much easier for me drinking whatever to go, we're not having any, instead of going, I'm going to have two, because then there's no rules to make. There's no negotiation. Okay, it's a Thursday. Does that count as a weekend? Like, if you just go, I'm not going to drink for a while, it's so easy. You don't buy it. It's not in your cupboard. Just like with cookies, So I find it very easy to quit things, almost impossible to moderate things.
That's how it is with me. I think if I don't have it in my apartment, I don't need it. So, and if it's not there, I don't need it. But as far as labeling, I've spoken to my friends who have had alcohol problems, and they say, the first thing is to admit you're an alcoholic, and it's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying that you're a smoker, or, you're a sex addict, or this or that. The first thing is to admit it and to know that you have a problem. That's all.
Yeah. And then there's a huge advantage. Like, it's almost like you have this secret that that could instantly improve your life, that people that never got into that don't have. It's almost like you're wearing a weight vest every day and you go, let me just take this off. Like, you have this one thing that could instantly improve your life. That's why I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm proud that you stopped, and I'm more proud that you're not drinking, as you went through your whole divorce and everything, like right now.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, God bless.
This is filled with whiskey, but it's just
this is gin.
Coffee.
So let's talk about your audition with Punk'd. I saw that you auditioned for Punk'd.
Yeah, I don't even know where you found that. I haven't thought about that in so many years. Yeah, I was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I was a struggling comedian, and then I just had, you go on auditions and you never get called back. And I went into this audition with just a couple guys, people I had never met before, for Punk'd, and they would bring you in, and you would have to like make fun of the other person. They'd bring two of us in at a time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of good at that. I kind of like doing that. And so it was a lot of people I knew. Like, it's a lot of people. It was like, I remember Ben Bailey came in, the guy that hosts Cash Cab, and like, it was like all the New York comics.
Love it, yeah.
And they would keep like whoever, like, I guess did better or whatever. And so I stayed there. I was there for 6 hours, and all day long. I was very hungover, by the way. I was so hungover.
Well, that was the whole point of the story. Yeah.
And it was good, whatever. And they sent me home, and then they flew me to LA, and they made me go to a Starbucks. And they gave me like a real life punk challenge. They made me like return my drink 7 times at a Starbucks. Not that they had set up, like an actual Starbucks.
Yeah.
And so I ended up returning it 7 times. And I ended up making my own drink. The Starbucks people let me go behind the counter because they were just like sick of me returning it. And so they were like, you got the gig. Like, we want you to do it. The next morning I go in, I walk into the room, it's Ashton Kutcher and somebody else. And they go, hey, it went really well. And they go, hey, we're going to do, maybe we'll do like 13 episodes or something. And then in Hollywood, you don't, oftentimes they don't call you and go, hey, you didn't get the role. You just turn on the TV and someone else is doing the job that you thought. So I was like, oh, I guess I didn't get it. But looking back, like it really was the, I can't remember exactly what I did right after that, but I think I did morning radio for a while. I think I got like my morning radio job a year later, and we had our first baby. And one of those things where I don't know where that would have led me. I remember being like frustrated at the time, but looking back, like everything turned out the best it possibly could.
Do you, and I apologize for interrupting you, do you think that because you were hungover, you didn't get the role?
It's hard to say. You never know.
Yeah.
It's possible. There was a weird thing that happened in the meeting where they asked me if they thought I was New York based. Mm-hmm. And I was New York based, but I moved from LA. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I used to live here. And they were like, oh, did you go up with the clubs here? And I was trying to you try to talk yourself up. So I go, yeah, I've worked this place and that place. Yeah. And they expressed that they were worried that people would know who I was because I was an LA comic and it might ruin the punking.
Sure. Like
if someone knew who you were. And I wanted to tell them, listen, guys, if people recognized me, I wouldn't be auditioning for this stupid show. I'd be doing something. I'd be selling out theaters.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know the answer.
So you think your life would have been very different?
I'm extremely, very happy at the moment with how everything turned out. And I'd hate to mess with the butterfly effect and mess something up.
Yeah, totally. And I wanted to ask you if you can give somebody advice for a new comedian going up on stage if they feel as if they need a drink in order to perform. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would. It's funny. I remember doing that once or twice back in the day. And I remember I went on stage. I had maybe 3 beers or something. And I went on stage and had the best set I had had up until that point. I came off stage. I was like, this is it. I'm incredible, whatever. I watched a videotape of it. Not the truth. My version of what happened, from my point of view, it had gone better than it had actually gone because I had had a few beers. And it just doesn't mix. Comedy is about being as quick as you can possibly be. And I never got, you ever go to a comedy show and they send the guy, sometimes you're on stage and they go, hey, this guy bought you a drink on stage. And then they give you a shot. This is a pretty common thing that happens where people buy the comedian drinks. And I never understood it because what we like about comedians is that they're supposedly clever and smart and taking the exact right pause, telling you a joke. And you're actually giving them a drink going, here, I want to make this harder for you. I want to make you worse at the thing I liked you for. It would be like, you go see a guitar player and you smash his hand with a hammer. It doesn't help you.
Oh, so the advice is don't give your comedian any shots or anything.
Don't give your comedian any booze. And talk about yourself. I think that originality comes from your life. And if you want jokes that people won't steal or that sets you apart, your life story is the most unique thing. If you look at some of the most successful shows, there's stories about, someone's upbringing and the unique thing that they bring to the table.
Yeah.
And my other advice would be don't do it. But besides that, those are my 3. No, I would say it's a good job. Just a tough time right now.
It really is. I mean, you're lucky if you get back up on the stage. Anybody for that matter. Do you do the cameo at all? Jackie, I interviewed Jackie the Joke Man Martling, and he does cameo like a lot of people. Are you doing any of that?
I'm not doing the cameo. I'm familiar with it.
That's how you can make some quick money.
But I'm not doing it. I've been asked, but I haven't done it.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not interested.
I don't know. I have trouble with that one. I think it comes from maybe an insecurity or I don't know. That's the kind of thing. If somebody, I got a message this morning from someone that said their son was a fan of our show and it was his birthday and would I make a video? And I just made a video.
Oh,
I think I like the fact that it's not a monetary exchange.
Sure.
I like the fact that someone likes me. I'd like to make him a thing. I think I would. I would not want to monetize that. I think it would take away from like how good you feel when you send the video to the kid and they and the thanks you get.
That's really nice.
That said, if I need money, I'm doing it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll change my mind.
$50. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about The Real Rob. It's one of my favorite shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it. I love the three of you guys together. It's you, Rob Schneider, and his wife, Patricia.
Yeah, it's the best.
You guys are a great trio. And for those of you, it's on Netflix.
It is, yeah.
And the last episode was in 2017. Did you have any?
Yeah. 2 seasons and I talked to those guys. We're working on a movie right now. Okay. I talked to those guys last night till 2:00 in the morning. Rob and Patty, they're the best.
God bless.
I don't know if the way I got the job on Real Rob, because I'm an actor, you know, in Real Rob. Yeah. I was just a writer on the show, but we only had like basically me and Rob wrote it. It's not like we had a writer's room. Yeah. It was just me and Rob writing the pilot. And I remember we had written, and it was very exciting for me. It was my first writing job, and that was actually something that was going to get made. And I was very excited. And we had written me like a little part, like I was going to be Rob's opening act at this comedy club. Very small, like 2 lines in the whole season. Right. And then we ended up cutting that scene. I think I cut myself out of the series because it just didn't drive the story forward. And so I was like, we don't need this part. And I therefore cut myself out of the series, but I did it for the greater good of the show. Sure. And so there's this character, Rob's assistant, that's Jamie. In every Jamie, that's in every and his name was like Phil or something originally. And he's being played by, it was like, I can't remember who it was, but it was like an actor you would know who he was going to be the assistant. So he calls Rob and tells him he got a movie role. He can no longer do Real Rob. And we're filming in 2 weeks. Like we gotta start filming. And so I'm at Rob Schneider's house, and we do a lot of nice things for each other. We make each other tea. We're friends, you know, like we're just like. And so him and his wife were sitting at the table, and I went and I got tea for everybody. And I was coming back with the tea, and Rob was like, "Man, I don't know what to do." He's like, Who can we get to play my assistant?" And I'm like bringing him tea. I'm like, "Oh, here's your tea, whatever." And he just like looks over and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "Sit down." And he goes, read for this part. And I'm like, what? And so I just like set the teas down and I do a couple lines, and he was laughing and we went back and forth with some of the scenes, and he goes, change. I was the person that typed every word, you know, I would write. And he was like, change the guy's name to Jamie in all the episodes. You're going to play the role.
I love it.
Like, okay. I just like typed it in, and then we were filming 2 weeks later.
How did you meet Mr. Schneider, Rob?
I met him. I was a morning radio sidekick guy in Rochester, New York, a job I took when my son was born. And he was a guest on the show. Like he called in, he was doing a benefit in town, and they always asked like the douchebag radio guy to open. And so they asked me. And I loved Rob Schneider. I'm like he was my guy. Yeah, and so cool. I go do the show, and I was like very excited to meet him. Met him in the green room for like 1 minute. He was like getting his thoughts together. It's like, oh, that's cool. I met Rob. And then I went on stage and had like I went up after there was an improv group that had just formed. They were like a new improv group. It was only the second time they performed. Then I was going to go up. And I feel like if there's comedy in heaven, you get to go up after an improv group that just formed. Like it's a great spot. A great spot to be. Like I feel like the whole crowd was like, oh my God, jokes that were written beforehand. And so I just had like a great set. Anybody would have had a great set. And I heard someone laughing off stage. I didn't know who it was. And when I get off stage, it's Rob Schneider. And he goes, hey man, don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you after the show. Maybe we could work together on some stuff. And then we just became, I think I was at his wedding about 2 years later. We just became friends.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Now, you were living in Alaska when you were filming that. Was that in LA?
Yeah, we filmed in the first season. We filmed using like a lot of film students from Full Sail University in Florida. So we did I think we did like most of the interiors in Florida. And then we did exteriors in LA. Filmed a little bit in Vegas, season 2. It was all on location. So we went wherever we had to.
So you would travel from home, from Alaska?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I based it wasn't that long. It was probably like 3 or 4 months. I based myself out of LA and brought the kids out and stuff like that.
Are there any talks of, did you say that you're working on another season or a film with them?
We're not, we think it's over. There's talk of it, but it's just me talking and no one's listening. It's, we've discussed, like there's a possibility of sort of a different kind of version of Real Rob, the same characters that we're pitching with a production company right now, but it will not be the same. It'll be a different iteration of Real Rob. So I think the old Real Rob, I think that's it for the original Real Rob, but there's something we're working on.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So you're, for people who have not seen the Real Rob, your character plays like a goofy role. I can't imagine how they couldn't, because it's just so funny. But you just play like a goofy role, and it's so funny. And I thank you so much for that role, because it was it was meant to be. Like it's just so funny. You're just a likable guy.
That's cool.
But an idiot at the same time.
Right. Yeah, a complete idiot. My script every day had no lines. It would just say, "Be yourself," and I would. It was the best job I've ever had. That was the best job.
I love it. And let's talk about about what is it? Man with a Plan. You said that's canceled.
Yeah. So Man with a Plan, we did. There were 4 seasons on CBS with Matt LeBlanc.
LeBlanc.
Yeah, I'm noticing a common thing that most things I work on get canceled. I think that's how everything ends in Hollywood. It doesn't go on forever. But that was a killer job, man. I was a producer and writer on the show with.
Yes.
And it was my first time in a network writer's room. So of course there's like the anxiety that comes with that. But to my left and right were 2 of my best friends. This guy Mark Gross, who worked on Mike and Molly and Gary Unmarried, and another friend of mine, Tommy Johnigan, who came on Second and Last Comic Standing. He's a pretty well-known comedian, and I got to sit with my 2 buddies in a writer's room. It was amazing.
That's so.
That was one of my. I was very sad when that got canceled. I was beyond sad. I was like kind of depressed. Like we were expecting it to get picked up because we just needed one more season to get syndicated. Our ratings were very good. Like I think we all were really jarred when it didn't get canceled. Everyone was very surprised. But man, that's again one of those things where any time I spent being sad was completely wasted because of the opportunities that came after it that I would not have been able to do. And it was just a month ago. And I have a couple of things. I'm taking I can't tell you what it is right now, but I think I'm taking a new job next week that I could never have taken if I was on Man with a Plan. Yeah. And it's a job where I can see my kids every day, and it's a remote job based out of Alaska. So one of those things. I should have just said, hey, it got canceled. This is great. I should have just done that. But
that's so awesome. That was my next question to you. What's your next project? But we have to wait for that.
You have to wait for that. I think very soon though. I'm waiting for an email. But I'm also in the meantime I'm working with Rob Schneider and Patricia are my main writing partners, and so you know right now we're working on a new movie that we just started this week, so we're writing that. So we'll probably do that for the next 2 months. And Rob Schneider has a brand new Netflix special coming out on August 13th. He's got a new special coming out, so I'm super
What's the name of it?
It's called, it just got a name yesterday. It's called Asian Mama Mexican Babies.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I think that's what it's called. Asian Mama Mexican Children or Mexican Babies. But it's awesome, man. I went and I wrote for him on that and went and warmed up for him. He killed. It's gonna be great.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
What about your I Quit podcast? Are you still doing that?
That's been canceled. I'm just kidding. It's I actually did the new project I'm working on is actually it's a radio thing, the thing that I might end up doing. And so I did it as just a 10-part, I don't know, limited series. Like I had like 10 people I wanted to talk to. Yeah. And I didn't want to go through the whole like trying to get guests and everything. And so I just did like the 10, I had like whatever, Rob Schneider and Mark Lundholm and Ron Bennington from the Bennington, and Nikki Glazer. So I sort of did like this limited run, but it's still every day somebody tells me they heard that podcast. And because it's about how people quit drinking and whatever, I get a lot of cool emails like, oh, I listened to this one over and over and it's helped me quit drinking. And so I've been thinking about starting it up again. I quit the I Quit podcast. I quit my own, but I've been thinking about restarting it again.
I love it so much. I love your honesty and your charisma. You have a really great personality. So thank you so
Thanks.
much.
I appreciate it.
Where can people find you, Jamie?
So I'm kind of only on Instagram these days. I'm at I am Jamie Lissow on Instagram, and just because people know Rob Schneider better than me, it's just easier. My website is robschneidersfriend.com. So that's where you can find me.
Is it really?
It is, yeah.
You're so funny. That's great. That's clever.
That's how you can find me.
That's great. Well, we'll be looking for you
All right.
on these shows, and thank you so much for joining us today. You're the best.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Thank you,
It was
sir.
fun.
Thank you to Bruno's Restaurant, located at 158-22 Cross Bay Boulevard, Queens, New York, for sponsoring the show. Bruno's is family operated with the finest of Italian cuisine, daily specials, and brick oven pizza. They are currently serving outside dining.